Imagine living through an experience so intense that, even long after it's over, your mind and body still feel like they're trapped in that moment. No matter how much time passes, certain sounds, smells, or sights can pull you back into that overwhelming fear. This is the reality of post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Today, we're diving into how trauma rewires the brain, how it shapes behavior, and why understanding PTSD is crucial in helping those affected move forward. Let's start with a familiar scenario. A soldier returns home after witnessing the horrors of war. But even in the safety of home, they may experience flashbacks, nightmares, or a constant feeling of being on edge. PTSD isn't just about soldiers, though. It can affect anyone who has gone through a deeply traumatic event, whether it's a natural disaster, a car accident, or abuse. PTSD is a mental health condition that can develop after a person experiences or witnesses a traumatic event. But not everyone who goes through trauma will develop PTSD. In fact, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, about 6% of people will experience PTSD at some point in their lives. The disorder involves symptoms like flashbacks, intrusive thoughts, nightmares, and avoidance of anything that reminds the person of the trauma. PTSD symptoms often arise when the brain's natural response to danger, the fight or flight reaction, becomes stuck in the on position. Even after the traumatic event has passed, the brain continues to behave as if the danger is still present, triggering overwhelming fear or anxiety at unexpected moments. But why does this happen, and how does trauma change the brain? How trauma changes your mind. Imagine your brain as a city, with each part playing a specific role. Trauma is like a major traffic accident that blocks off certain roads, making it harder for messages to get through smoothly. In the case of PTSD, 3 key areas of the brain are affected: the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, and the hippocampus. The amygdala is your brain's alarm system, responsible for detecting threats and triggering fear. During a traumatic event, the amygdala goes into overdrive. In people with PTSD, this heightened fear response continues long after the threat is gone. Studies have shown that the amygdala remains hyperactive in individuals with PTSD, which explains why they might feel constantly on edge or easily startled. The prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain responsible for rational thinking and decision-making, usually helps to calm the amygdala by signaling when it's safe. However, trauma can weaken this connection, leaving the person unable to rationalize their fear. This is why people with PTSD often struggle to control their reactions, even when they know they're not in immediate danger. The hippocampus, which processes memories, is also affected by trauma. In those with PTSD, the hippocampus tends to shrink. This can make it difficult to differentiate between past and present, which is why traumatic memories can feel as real as the moment they first happened, leading to flashbacks. Trauma disrupts the brain's balance. The amygdala becomes overactive, while the prefrontal cortex struggles to control it, and the hippocampus fails to properly process memories. This explains why someone with PTSD may feel stuck in their traumatic experiences, even long after the danger has passed. How trauma shows up in daily life. Now, imagine you're walking down the street and a car suddenly backfires. If you've experienced trauma, that sound might trigger a flood of fear and make you feel like you're back in the traumatic moment. This is a common symptom of PTSD, known as a flashback. People with PTSD experience a range of symptoms that can significantly impact their daily lives. These symptoms are generally grouped into 4 categories: intrusive thoughts, flashbacks, nightmares, and distressing memories of the trauma. Avoidance, avoiding places, people, or activities that remind them of the traumatic event. Negative thoughts and feelings, feelings of guilt, shame, or hopelessness, as well as distorted beliefs about themselves or others, e.g., "I'm to blame for what happened." Hyperarousal, being easily startled, feeling tense or on edge and having difficulty sleeping or concentrating. Research from Harvard Medical School shows that PTSD symptoms can vary in intensity. Some people may only experience symptoms when reminded of the trauma, while others live in a constant state of fear or anxiety. The intensity can also fluctuate, becoming worse during periods of stress. PTSD doesn't just affect the mind, it affects the body too. People with PTSD may have a heightened startle reflex, be hypervigilant, always scanning for danger, and experience chronic insomnia. These physical symptoms can make everyday activities exhausting and further isolate those with PTSD. PTSD manifests in both mental and physical ways. The brain's overactive fear response can lead to intrusive thoughts, avoidance behaviors, and constant hypervigilance, making everyday life feel overwhelming for those affected. Treatments and recovery. Recovering from PTSD is like untangling a knot. It's not easy and it takes time, but with the right tools, healing is possible. So what are those tools? Several therapies have been shown to help people with PTSD manage their symptoms and regain control over their lives. One of the most effective treatments is cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT), specifically a version called trauma-focused CBT. This therapy helps individuals reprocess their traumatic memories, changing how they react to them. Another common treatment is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing (EMDR), a therapy that involves recalling traumatic memories while following a moving object with your eyes. Research shows that this can help rewire the brain to process traumatic memories differently, reducing their emotional impact. Medication, like antidepressants, can also be helpful in managing symptoms, especially when combined with therapy. According to the American Psychological Association, treatments that target both the mind and body tend to be the most effective. In trauma-focused CBT, patients work with a therapist to confront their traumatic memories in a safe and controlled environment. By gradually exposing themselves to these memories, they can reduce their emotional power over time. EMDR works similarly by helping the brain reprocess traumatic memories, allowing individuals to move past them. While PTSD can feel all-consuming, there are effective treatments available. Therapy, particularly trauma-focused CBT and EMDR, helps individuals reprocess traumatic memories and regain control over their reactions. With the right support, recovery is possible. Reducing the stigma around PTSD. It's common to hear people say, "Just get over it," or "it's all in your head" when someone is struggling with PTSD, but that's not only insensitive, it's also inaccurate. PTSD is a serious mental health condition, and dismissing it only makes things worse. Stigma surrounding mental health, including PTSD, often prevents people from seeking the help they need. According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness (NAMI), many individuals with PTSD hesitate to reach out for treatment because they fear judgment or believe they should be able to handle it on their own. However, research shows that early intervention is key. The sooner someone with PTSD receives help, the better their chances of recovery. Public awareness campaigns and education can play a big role in reducing stigma and encouraging people to seek treatment. Education and awareness are crucial in helping people understand that PTSD isn't a sign of weakness. It's a real biological response to trauma, and those affected deserve support and compassion, not judgment. By talking openly about PTSD and encouraging people to seek help, we can reduce the stigma that keeps so many from getting the treatment they need. Reducing the stigma around PTSD is essential in helping those affected seek treatment and support. Mental health conditions like PTSD are real and should be treated with the same seriousness as physical illnesses. PTSD is more than just a lingering memory of trauma. It's a condition that affects the brain, behavior, and body in profound ways. By understanding how trauma rewires the brain, we can begin to understand why certain behaviors, thoughts, and reactions occur. With the right treatment and support, individuals with PTSD can heal and move forward, reclaiming their lives. The more we understand PTSD, the better equipped we are to offer support to those affected. Whether it's a soldier returning from war, a survivor of abuse, or anyone else who has experienced trauma, it's important to remember that PTSD isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign that they've endured something deeply overwhelming. And with awareness, compassion, and the right tools, recovery is possible.